is to try to kick somebody's ass. I mean, that's why we're here.
That is caught! Left center! Reds win! And this ball is launched. High and very deep to right, long gone. It's second of the night. Ellie De La Cruz.
Short lead for Pena. Larkin drills it. Do you believe this? It's going to be gone! Back to back! Walk-off home runs! How about this? He's back! He's back! He's back!
And a swing and a drive! Deep left field! This one belongs to the Reds! Swung on and hit deep to left field! That ball is going to be gone! Home run! And the Reds put it 5-4!
Goes to second one. Around the first. Got a double play! And the Reds sweep the Cubs. Breaking ball. Hit high. Hit deep. Way back there. And gone! Into the second deck and left. Christian Encarnacion Strand walks it off. Karcher does it in his major league debut. He gets the final 3 outs, and the Reds get an extra inning win. A thriller 5-4.
Swung on, fly ball, hit the deep right field. That ball is gonna be gone. A grand slam home run by Mike Cameron.
2 outs, 2 on. Reds down by 1. Larkin down the line. It's a winning. It's a winning. Here comes Tucker. Here comes Steins. Larkin's won the game. Barry Larkin gets mobbed. Look at this scene. It's synergy.
The stretch, the pause and the pitch. And a line drive, base hit left center field. A single for Aaron Boone. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won 8 in a row.
Kobayashi with a long look turns it loose and
Dunn hits it to deep right. It's all over. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won their 5th game in a row. They've defeated the Cleveland Indians on an Adam Dunn 3-run home run, 4-2.
in on the corners at first and third. 2 on, nobody out. Here's Royce Ring pitching, no bunt. Ground ball
By the third baseman into left field. Jay Bruce rounds third. And this one belongs to the Reds.
That's it pretty good. Guess what? He doesn't need speed. That's gone. He's the king of the Queen City tonight.
with 1 out here in the 11th inning. You sure got to go now.
One on, pull down the left field line. That ball is going to get the winning run in. Here comes Jay Bruce rounding third, heading toward the plate. And this one belongs to the Reds.
Huge situation for Votto. Why you paying the big bucks to deliver the goods with 2 outs in the 9th inning? Can he do it? In the gap right center field, and Votto delivers the goods.
Hit deep center field. And Keel going back at the warning track. Oh, he gets one. It's gone. Joey Votto is delivered.
Hello and welcome to the Chatterbox Reds pregame show. Today is June 2nd, 2025, and today I am joined by Austin Layton. Austin, how are you doing today?
Good, Ricky. Thanks for having me back on, man. Always good to talk some Reds. Hopefully it's going to be an exciting, fun game for Reds fans tonight, but we'll see how it goes. Thanks for having me on there, man.
Yeah, today was, we're taking on the Brewers, second game of the series. We lost 3-2 last night. What are your thoughts about yesterday? It just seems like our only offense ever is Ellie and just seemed to be Steer yesterday. But what were your thoughts on yesterday's game?
Yeah, I was feeling good coming out of the beginning of the game, and then I slowly started to realize maybe this is all the runs that we're going to score tonight, and it came, at the very beginning. But yeah, I mean, you're right, man. Outside of those guys, and Friedel's obviously been pretty good. It's just you maybe thought Singer would kind of keep him in as a few more innings than he did, but gave it right back up, which is kind of disappointing. But yeah, I don't know. What were your thoughts? I know a lot of people made kind of a big deal, I guess, of the end of the game and Francona, who he hit, who he didn't hit, that sort of thing. But I don't know if that was, I don't know, did that rub you the wrong way at all, or what were your thoughts initially on that?
I'm kind of indifferent a little bit, just because the comments he made about McLean not being available to pinch hit, but to pinch run, I kind of get it, only because McLean's really been struggling here lately, and you were giving him the day off to kind of just get his head out of it, and you'd hate to put him in a pressure spot and then have him, strike out or get out and just make it worse, I guess. But What were your thoughts on that? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Hampson supporter by any means. I don't know if that was the best option, regardless of who you choose to replace him with. I think a lot got made of Charlie Goldsmith's question to Terry Francona after the game of, like, to your point, why did you not pinch hit Matt McLean? And I think to your point, I mean, you're looking at the two guys. Hampson is batting like 167 this year. McLean's at 175, so you're not necessarily. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think McLean's probably a better overall player. Problem is, he hasn't really proven that much this year. I'm basically basing that off of 2 years ago, and he didn't play at all last year, obviously. So I don't know, man. I think the argument that I've seen made more that I agree with is maybe you put Austin Wynns in that situation. Now, that wasn't the question that Terry got asked, but I mean, if they're going to have Austin Wynns on this roster and seemingly never play him, like I think he had like single digit at bats the entire month of May. Put him in, man. If you need some power, coming off the bench, I think that makes more sense than the McLean argument. And maybe that's kind of what Terry was thinking more so. I think he probably, I don't know. The only reason I could think you maybe keep Wynns on the bench is because you want to save a catcher, but you might just lose the game and you never need that catcher. So like give it a chance, I guess, is what I would say. But I don't know. You can second guess the lineup and pinch hit that stuff all night if you want to. But that was my thoughts at least.
Yeah, I guess my thought on Wins is you have a guy that, granted he's not some star player, everyday consistent player, but a guy that was actually hot for a consistent amount of time. It kind of was inflated by the two games, the Miami game and the Baltimore game, but he still was hitting when he was in the lineup, and he had a couple offers, obviously, but nothing like cooling a guy off than taking him out of the lineup for an entire month. And there's going to have to be some decisions made, because why carry three catchers if he's never going to play? You have Hines in AAA. You have CES coming back relatively soon, and I don't know. It just seems like that's kind of an odd choice, is to have him there just to sit. And I don't know, but I guess we're on to a new day. What you want to go through this lineup? And it doesn't look like a whole lot's changed. We got our good friend Espinal back in, but I'll let you run through it and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, a little similar to what they did last night. You got TJ Friedel batting lead off playing center field. Gavin Lux up in two slot DH. Ellie De La Cruz in that third spot for a couple more days at least before his bereavement, unfortunately. But Tyler Stevens had to clean up tonight. He's been coming on a little bit as of late. I like to see that. Spencer Steer at first base behind there, followed by Will Benson out in left. Good to see Will get some playing time, see if he can do something with it. And yeah, to your point, Santiago Espinal got the day off yesterday back at third base. Jake Fraley out in right. Matt McLean, topic of conversation, at second base tonight. And then our starting pitcher, always a good sight to see, is Hunter Greene on the mound. But yeah, I didn't know if you had any takeaways, at least off this lineup so far.
I like that even with Espinal back, he's not in the two hole. I am 100% behind that. He has his moments versus left-handed pitching. He is better, obviously, versus left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. But I like the change of scenery too. He's been on a cold streak for about 2 weeks, maybe longer, and Lux versus right-handed pitching is really good. His splits are very dramatic. I think the last time I checked, he was batting like 385 versus right-handed pitching and under 150 versus left-handed pitching. So that's a welcome change. And then obviously the Ellie De La Cruz situation going on bereavement, I think tomorrow. Yeah, and let's get into Hunter Greene too, because Hunter Greene, what is his fourth game back from injury? He's got decent numbers versus these Brewers, but it's not great. Run us through what are your thoughts on Greene versus this red hot Brewers lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked briefly pregame. It's like Hunter Greene's their best shot to beat the Brewers, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like if the Reds threw Cy Young out there, they'd have much more luck than they currently do. But and maybe a little foreshadowing there, Cy Young, Hunter Greene, knock on wood, right? But hey, anyway, but no, I think Hunter's, second start, right, coming back from his injury, but the past two starts, I think he's been right around the 80 pitch range. So if we can get something similar, maybe 80, 90 pitch range from him today, that would go a long way. The bullpen's not necessarily spent, but yeah, man, to your point, I mean, looking at the matchup, some of these guys and how they're hitting off of Greene, lifetime. Chorio's, he's batting 1,000. You got Contreras batting 500. Obviously limited at bats. Chorio's 1 at bat. Contreras 6 at bats, but batting 500. So a lot of other guys haven't done too much against him. So I think it could be a good night for Hunter Greene just based on that. But yeah, probably just looking to continue to build up that kind of durability or longevity, I guess would be the better word for pitches and going deep into games. I think obviously that first one back against the Cubs wasn't as long as anybody hoped. I think it was maybe 4 innings or something like that. But 88 pitches versus Kansas City. So if he can get in the 90s, I think that'd be good. Hopefully it's not 90 pitches in like 4 innings, but maybe we can get pitch efficient Hunter Greene and keep the guys in it. But yeah, obviously it's hard to say much bad about Hunter Greene so far this year, but I think you're probably in agreement, or any different thoughts there.
Yeah, I'm happy with Greene. I think just the last few starts are him just trying to get stretched out, not trying to overdo it with the groin, and just his velocity has been down a tick, but it's not like dramatic. It's nothing to worry about. I think it's just him really kind of get back, and even with the limited action, he's still 4-3 with a 2.63 ERA. So I am on board with this Hunter Greene train. Let's talk a little bit about the Brewers. I didn't get a lineup posted. They posted it really late. They got Bryce Terang leading off, Jackson Chourio playing center field, batting second, Kristen Yelich at DH, batting third, Contreras at catcher, cleanup, Sal Frelick batting fifth, right field, Reese Hopkins at first base, batting sixth, Isaac Collins, switch hitter, playing left field, Durbin and Joey Ortiz to round out the bottom 2 of the Brewers lineup. And their pitcher tonight is Freddy Peralta. What are your thoughts on Freddy? He's a really, really good pitcher. We have our work cut out for us today.
Yeah, he's really good. And I think the only silver lining, if you're a Reds fan, is you look at the start that he had against the Reds last year, and they actually hit him pretty well. So I don't know if that's going to necessarily carry over, 12 months later to this year. I may give or take 12 months, I don't know exactly, but I like our chances based on guys hitting him in the past. Seemingly, okay. It's not like you got a bunch of guys that are batting, 0 for against him. Fraley and Friedel are kind of the guys that stood out to me, both batting 375 against him. Friedel's doing it over 16 at bats. Fraley's doing it against through 8 at bats, so not as big of a sample size. But I think the Reds got a chance to actually hit this guy. Now I give that all at the grain of salt that the Reds they're probably going to score like 7 runs or 1 run tonight, just based on their streaks of this year. But I don't know. Are you feeling confident, or am I crazy in coming off confident, I guess?
I'm feeling pretty good. He gave up 3 runs on 6 hits in 5 innings in his last start versus Boston. He didn't pitch this first series versus the Reds. He pitched. It was you were close. It was 11 months ago. It was last July. 10 hits, 6 runs, a walk, 6 strikeouts. That's the most runs he allowed in a start since the year prior, so 2023. And Friedel, he's got three extra base hits with a home run off of him, and Stevenson's 2 for 7. I like our chances. He relies on 4 pitches. He mostly relies on his 4-seam fastball. He's got a changeup, curveball, and a slider. His fastball is just right around 95 on average, and batters are hitting 180 with the 180 slug on his changeup. So his changeup, he doesn't use it often, but when he does, it's his out pitch.
Yeah, I think it'll be important for these guys to get on him early, probably, and not let him get in too much of a rhythm. I think as they get deeper into the game, you kind of like your chances that second, maybe third time against him if he's still in. But at the same time, like, the Reds don't do good if they get down. We know that, obviously, as we watch these games over the course of the year. But if they can get out to, hopefully an early lead, build some momentum, I think, I thought they'd do it last night and they didn't. So maybe they'll come through tonight. And I don't want to base it all on just what might maybe, happen. But I think the Reds got a chance to bounce back tonight after a rough game yesterday. And hey, they need to score some runs. They didn't since the first yesterday, so they're due. But we know that doesn't necessarily always mean much with these guys.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about our bullpen and our pitching path to victory. Our bullpen's been kind of hit and miss over the last few games. It seems like Tony Santillan just can't face the Cubs for whatever reason. But it looks like Ian Jabot threw 14 pitches yesterday. Scott Barlow threw 19 pitches yesterday. Brent Suter threw 19 pitches yesterday. Who do you see going in? And hopefully we got some guys coming in later in the game. Hopefully Hunter gives us a good strong outing and we can kind of give some guys a break. Who do you have your eye on in the bullpen?
Yeah, I guess it probably depends on what the score is looking like, right? But yeah, I mean, based on the guys that pitched, last night and even past couple of days, Suter pitched the past 2 games. Rogers did as well, so maybe those guys are probably out. And Barlow pitching 19 pitches, and Jabot 14. I don't know if those guys will be necessarily available. They're not totally spent either. But to your point, I mean, you got Lyon Richardson, Pagan, obviously, if they're in the late innings, and he can come in the ninth if they still got a lead, and Santillan. But I think this will probably be a game that we see Graham Ashcraft at some point, just because he hasn't pitched the past 2 games. But I'd probably be looking at Richardson and Ashcraft to kind of make some differences, towards the middle, late part of the game, and then hopefully we tee it up for a Santillan in the 8th maybe, and then Pagan in the 9th, obviously for winning. But those are the kind of guys. I know I just named like half the bullpen there, but I don't know if you were thinking about anybody different.
The only thing I was looking at is that Pagan hasn't pitched since the win on Friday. And he only threw 8 pitches, and Santillan threw 19 pitches on Friday, so he should be pretty fresh too. Let's take a look at our weather. It's a very nice day here in the Cincinnati area. I live just outside of Cincinnati on the Indiana side. It's a good day. It's finally we're getting some non-rainy days. It feels like it's been one wet spring. But today it is around 74 degrees. The wind's blowing in slightly. It's just a slight breeze. It's not even a mile per hour, but wind and weather shouldn't play a factor at all today. But yeah, and then going around the NL Central, obviously the Cubs first place. They're 37-22. The Cardinals are 33-26. I don't know about you, but that's a big surprise. I don't think anybody really expected St. Louis to be as good as they've been. In Milwaukee, they're 33-28, riding their hot streak. They've won 8 in a row. We're still only 3 games under 500, but 29-32, and the Pirates are 22-38, 15.5 games out of first place. What are your thoughts in general on the NL Central? I know a lot of fans it stinks just because the team. We had high expectations coming into the season, I believe, and we expected McLean to be better. We kind of expected Ellie to maybe take a leap, and I'm not knocking Ellie by any means because Ellie's our really most dependable player that we have, and TJ Friedel is really rebounding well from last year. But I think we really expected to see this team really compete better than we have, and I don't know. What are your general thoughts on the run? We're 2 full months into the season. Are you the guy that's angry? You fighting about it? You angry about it, or how are you feeling about this stretch? Just we're 9 games out of first place, but we're still only 3 games under 500.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely disappointed with where they're at so far. Kind of a few of the points that you mentioned. It seems like we got a lot of guys that are just underperforming what we maybe thought their average could be, even, or kind of what we hoped they'd be for sure. And I think, yeah, we're 9 games out of first, and we got a few teams obviously ahead of us. It's always hard to make up room when you got a couple teams in between you and first and things like that. But what are they, 5 games out in the wild card, I think, as well. So they're not out of it, obviously, by any means. And you still got what, July, August, September, and then basically 4 more months with June in there too. So I mean, there's plenty of time left. At the same time, I just hoped that the Reds wouldn't be kind of digging themselves in a hole, and that seems like kind of what they've done at least these first 2 months of the season. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I think they have a lot of room for improvement. You just hope that they kind of showed that consistency more so than they have. But I mean, and then you got to think the Cubs, if they're in first place still, they're a team with resources that can probably make moves at the trade deadline where maybe the Reds can't. So you kind of want to make up some ground and obviously put yourself in a position before it's too late, and then they get even more reinforcements. So I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not happy with where they're at, but at the same time, I don't think this season's spent or anything like that. But I don't know. Do you think it's a lost cause by any means, or are you still holding out hope? I know we still watch, so we got
Yeah,
some hope,
yeah.
hopefully, but
Uh,
I don't know where you're at.
I'm not giving up until I get that ticker across the screen that says Reds officially eliminated from playoff contention. I'm holding
Right.
on faith. If I was a Pirates fan, I'd still be holding on to faith a little. I'd try to find some positive somewhere, but that's got to be hard to do. But yeah, it feels better when you don't see Santiago Espinal riding the 2-hole when he's been hitting like a $150 in his last 3 weeks. Or you're not seeing Connor Joe in right field over Jake Fraley or over Will Benson, or you're not seeing Garrett Hampson over name a player. It's just it was. I feel better when I see a lineup like this compared to when I see a lineup compared to yesterday or the day before, or when you see Connor Joe and Garrett Hampson in the same lineup playing this in the outfield together. It's just that blows my mind. And we can blame Francona for a lot of it, but I think the majority of it needs to go to Nick Krall in the front office and the ownership group, just not being able to hit on contracts and not being able to hit on trades. You really needed Jeimer Candelario to pan out. You really needed Mike Moustakas to pan out. And it's a shame because the one that you do hit on is, Nick Castellanos, and he walks. And that's just my general thoughts is just when you can have a manager. Sparky Anderson's not doing anything with this lineup. I'm sorry, but he's not. And it stinks. You're a fan of this team. I'm a fan of this team. You're a fan of this team. Everybody in the chat's a fan of this team. Everybody watching this show is a fan of this team. And when your team isn't good, it's hard to be happy about the product on the field. But yeah, it stinks. That's about all I got on that. But moving forward, do you have any keys to the game? Maybe a betting line or just something you want to keep your eye out on?
Nothing as far as betting. I've tried to do over unders or kind of things like that for baseball, and it seems to be almost impossible to predict that type of stuff. But I do think with the pitchers that they got going tonight, I assume it'll be a low scoring game, and I say that it'll probably be like 10-9. But I don't know. I think it'll be important to get runs, and then obviously not make mistakes in the field that lead to runs, or make mistakes on the base paths that lead to killing innings and things like that. So I don't know. I think I could see this game kind of being in like a 4-3 range, or even like a 2-3, score. But I don't know. I just think it's going to be important to play smart baseball tonight, which is kind of a obvious thing to say. But at the same time, I think if you can get the middle of the lineup guys, like especially like Stevenson and Steer, that both kind of been coming on a little bit lately to stay kind of hot too, I think is going to be huge for this team, not only tonight but just the rest of the season in general, honestly. But I don't know. I think if you can get some production out of the guys that maybe aren't are 1, 2, and 3 hitters that we more so can rely on. I think Lux has been a good pickup, and obviously De La Cruz and Friedel have been good. But I just think if they could get some production out of these guys that are kind of middle of the lineup, even in the Will Benson, obviously I don't expect him to hit a home run every day like he was, but just provide that power that people think that he can and things like that. I think that's going to be the key for these guys. I think you feel confident in the pitching that they can do tonight. The bullpen's pretty healthy, so pitching shouldn't be a huge issue, at least personnel wise. But hitting, we just don't know who's going to show up. Essentially, has been the story of the year. But yeah, I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on who you have your pick to click or anything like that?
I really want to see Matt McLain get going, and I don't want to put too much pressure on him. I kind of wish the fans would do what the Phillies did for Justin Turner, or not Justin Turner, Turner from the Phillies. I'm forgetting his name. Trey Turner. That's right. Just stand up for the kid, get him going, at least make him feel like he's happy. Not make him feel happy, but make him feel like he belongs up here. Maybe he just needs reminded. And it sucks because you don't want to send a kid down that he's a major league talent. And like Trace and Nick talked about it on the post game show last night. You don't want to ruin his confidence, but you also you could ruin his confidence being up here too. by not performing. I just really want to see Matt McClain get going. But as far as like my what to watch for today, speaking of Will Benson, he's got at least one RBI in 6 of the last Reds 8 home games. So that's something to keep an eye on there. And then TJ Friedel has scored at least 1 run in each of the Reds' last 4 home games. So maybe we can get some runs. Maybe Friedel gets on and get a couple hits, and then Benson drives him in, and we get at least 1 run. But yeah, do you have any? Let's get the old crystal ball out here, and do you have a prediction for tonight? And then anybody in the chat, if you want to post your predictions, we'll highlight them on the screen.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick a score, I'll go 3-2. I don't see it being a huge scoring game. And I guess that'd be a repeat, but at the same time, I just don't see it getting super out of hand tonight, scoring wise. But I say that all with a grain of salt. But where are you at on the score?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring game also. I think it's going to be hopefully better outcome than yesterday. I think we're going to get 4, and then Hunter Greene's going to have a really good outing tonight. He's going to go 6 strong, and we're going to win 4-2.
I take it. Yeah, I guess I should caveat. I was picking the Reds in my prediction too. I guess. The confidence isn't always there.
We're a Reds show. Yeah, Nate Johnson has a 1-0 loss. Come on, Nate.
Unfortunately, Nate's probably got history on the side on that one. But.
It's not right. Anybody else? We'll give you a minute, and then we'll wrap this up. Austin, I guess we could talk a little bit more about Francona yesterday. I think there was another comment he made about what was it? It wasn't the McClain comment, but I don't know what are your thoughts on Francona in general, I guess, just because it seemed like the media and a lot of like social media just put lofty expectations with him. And I'm not a David Bell stan, but I'm not a David Bell hater either. But it feels like some of the fan base forgets that we didn't make the playoffs, but all but 1 year under David Bell also. It wasn't like he was like setting the world on fire with his team, but I guess my general thoughts are first season back, whole new roster, totally different roster than Cleveland. I don't know. Give me your thoughts, because I have varying thoughts on him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that as with any manager, there's probably going to be decisions that people agree with, disagree with. Should have bat somebody here. Should have played somebody in left field or right field or whatever. But I think to your point, I mean, go the past 10 years. Like we've had Brian Price, David Bell. I don't know if Dusty Baker was technically in the past 10, but right around that range. But I mean, you just look at all these guys, and I think at some point, to your earlier point, it might be more of an organizational problem than the manager. I mean, you can't fault the Reds for going out and getting literally the best manager that we probably could have gotten. Now, like I said, I don't agree with everything he's done, and maybe some other guy that has no expectations and no reputation would have made some better calls of who to put in from the bullpen on opening day or something like that. I don't know. But I mean, if you're going to blame it on the manager, I mean, before the season, I mean, this was by far the best, pun intended, home run pick that they could have gotten. So, and you're getting similar results as we've gotten in the past, 10 years or so. So I think he's almost dealt a pretty crappy hand. Francona is that, yeah, he's got to manage these guys. But I mean, look, we just went through all the guys that are batting, under 200 this year. You got guys that are hurt that would have been contributing bats, CES, Candelaria, things like that. So it's hard for me to blame it too much on Francona, because I don't think that, putting Matt McClain in the lineup last night would have necessarily won you the game just based on how he's playing. Now, could he have? I don't know. Yeah, sure, probably. But I don't know. It's hard for me to basically blame the manager on a team that has one of the lower payrolls, bottom half of baseball, and is expected to compete with everybody else on an unfair playing field. That just doesn't make any sense if you're trying to make, a competitive balance. It's hard for me to blame the manager when you look at this roster and kind of, you can tell these guys aren't all batting 300. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. I maybe Francona, I think is getting frustrated. If I was managing the Reds right now, I'd be frustrated, and I think you're kind of seeing that fire come out in post game interviews and things like that. But I don't know. It's hard for me to blame it all on him at this point.
Yeah, I kind of agree with William here in the chat. He said we just need to get healthy. Haven't had half a roster all year. My question is, how are we just 3 games under 500? I think Tito's doing an awesome job. I kind of agree. I mean, yeah, the questionable decisions are, batting Espinal in the 2-hole when you have other guys, but for a lot of that stretch where he was hitting in the 2-hole, Steer was still batting like $160, and Benson wasn't on the roster. Fraley was worse than Steer, and McLean was hurt. Stevenson wasn't back yet, or Stevenson just came back, and yeah, maybe you bat Lux there, but Lux versus left-handed pitching is worse than Espinal facing right-handed pitching. So, yeah, I agree with that take there, William. I think that's a good point. And I guess kind of going back to Tito here, I'm on his baseball reference page, and he hasn't had a losing season since 2000, I think. No, yeah.
No wonder he's frustrated.
He was 1 game above 500 in 2015 at 81 and 80. Or no, losing season in 2021. I'm sorry, he was 80 and 82. But other than that, you have to go all the way back to his time on the Phillies. He never had a winning record with the Phillies, and maybe it's just the National League for him. It's just maybe that's a thing. But granted, we have the DH now; it should be irrelevant. But yeah, with the Phillies, he was 68 and 94 in his first season, 75 and 87 in his second season, 77 and 85, and then 65 and 97. Then he takes 4 years off and then goes to Boston and just goes on that run. And, granted, Boston's a bigger market. They have better talent available. And then he goes to Cleveland. Cleveland's a similar situation to here. Just they don't spend money, but they know how to develop talent. But yeah, I guess that's going to do it for today. Thanks to everybody in the chat for hanging out with us. Austin, thank you for jumping in with me. I know it was kind of last minute. And thanks again. Reds versus the Brewers tonight at 7:10. Austin, hit us with a go Reds.
Go Reds.